This is Family Time 100, which is kind of exciting for me. I've mentioned it before, but when we started doing these formal Family Time videos and audios and just the lessons in class, my plan was to do Family Times for one school year and then just start the number over again. And my students suggested just keep track of them, just number them, and it won't matter. We'll start at whatever number at the beginning of a school year, wherever we left off the year before. And this marks the 100th Family Time Social Emotional Learning Unit that we have done. And I think a great one to talk about for our 100th Family Time is civic engagement. And this is also extra special because joining me on my podcast this week and also joining me for the Family Time segment, I think this is the first time I have had a guest on the Family Time video segment stuff that we put out, is my 10-year-old daughter, Claire. Say hi.
Hi.
So, we're talking about civic engagement, Claire. And civic engagement is really working to make a difference in some way. So what we're going to talk about in class this week is ways that we're already engaged, like the students are engaged with their school, with extracurriculars, with their community, and engaged in ways that make a positive impact, that make those organizations, make their larger community better. And that was one of the reasons you want to do the podcast with me, is that's something you're very interested in, is doing like a job, working in areas where you can make a positive impact. So let's talk about that a little bit with you right now. What are some ways now that you're positively engaged with like your school or other organizations, sports, anything like that?
I do volleyball and I practice that so then in the future can have a good impact and like fix those wrong things that I was doing before so that I can be better.
So you're like developing skills. That's absolutely true. But I want you to think about like how does that elevate like other people? What can you do as like a teammate or by like starting volleyball, basketball, softball, those things now? How will that help you make a positive impact on like the school community or on your team later?
So then if somebody needs help, I know that I can help them.
Oh, very good. So you have the skills to be able to help. Do you think, especially in a school our size, in a community our size, that like the high school sports teams and stuff, and even the youth sports teams, you think that makes a positive impact on the community?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Because like it's getting kids and teenagers like outside so that they're not like sitting playing video games or something.
Sure, I mean, it gives a good physical activity, those sorts of things. One thing that I really like, I remember when I grew up in a bigger town before we moved to St. Ansgar, the youth sports weren't really connected to the high school sports so much. So, and I really didn't do a lot of the youth sports. I did martial arts when I was young, but I didn't do like t-ball and flag football and those sorts of things until we moved to St. Ansgar. And one of the things that I thought was cool when we moved here was like everybody was engaged. It was kind of more like a one community feeling. Like even if you were a young kid, you were a St. Ansgar Saint still, the same as the high school, and you watched the high school games and all that. Do you feel that? Like you've always gone to school here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of like part of that. And it's kind of extra. You and Mickey are always around the high school and stuff, so you know those kids, those sorts of things. The other thing we're going to talk about is what students might want to do to practice civic engagement when they're older, when they're adults, either in their careers or in their hobbies, those sorts of things. That's something you've talked about is very interesting to you. What are some ways that you think you want to practice civic engagement as you get older, that you want to contribute to your community?
I want to, like when I'm older, I want to start a community garden so then you can go there and pick fresh vegetables or fresh foods, so then you can like you can get those foods without having to drive there, and that will help not use as much gas, and it will help the environment.
That's a good idea. That's something we've gotten into. Really, last summer we kind of planted our first official garden that went super well until a tree fell on it late in the fall. But for most of the summer, it was really good, and it was nice having those fresh vegetables like right out the back door. That I really enjoyed. I enjoyed it even more than I thought I was going to. And then we've kind of even gotten further with that. What else have we done?
We have 2 compost piles next to each other, and we have an inside little area where we put some, like if we make a lot of fried potatoes, if they're brown and stuff, then we can throw them in there and not have to walk outside, but eventually it will still get to the compost pile, so that will still impact the environment.
Good, yeah. We have a little receptacle in the house that we can take outside. Yeah, and I like doing those sorts of things. It's good for the environment. It also just helps me. I feel a little better. Don't you feel a little better doing those sorts of things? So that's good. The environment's one that I know you've talked about a lot. Do you see yourself making that part of your career? Do you think doing environmental stuff or civic engagement sorts of things, or just going to be part of your lifestyle?
I think when I'm older, I can see myself doing that stuff.
Yeah, very good. Well, that's kind of a little talk about civic engagement. We'll talk about that a little bit more in class, but thank you for joining me for Family Time 100. It was great having you as a guest.
Yeah.
All right, much love.